Welcome to the Final Girls podcast and to Oscars Weekend 2024. I'm Anna Bogutska, your podcast host, and probably much like almost everyone else on the planet, I'm very ready for award season to end. Now, that said, I thought what better way to celebrate the end of the period of 6 months that we in the industry refer to as award season, which typically ends as soon as the Oscars happen. What better way to celebrate the fact that once again no horror films are ever nominated for anything ever by recording an extremely chaotic, blindingly funny 3-hour episode with two of my smartest and funniest collaborators, Ms. Becky Darke and Mrs. Isaura Barbé-Brown. What you're about to hear has no categorization. It is the first, hopefully not the last, of a fun little bonus episode that I've decided to call the Horror Oscars. Isaura, Becky, and myself gathered together in the hallowed ground of a Google Doc and decided which horror films from 2023 would we nominate in. Now, before anyone gets all up in my DMs, the only limitation we gave ourselves was that these films had to be released theatrically or on streaming between the 1st of January and the 31st of December of 2023. So there are some films there that could be counted as 2022 because they came out in the States, but they didn't land in the UK until 2023. Anyway, we made this up. Let us live. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as we enjoyed making it. I got a cluster headache from laughing so hard during the recording. So with all that said, welcome to the first edition of the Horror Oscars. Thank you, Becky. Thank you, Sarah. This has been inspired by the Academy's consistent, decades-long devotion to ignoring the entirety of the horror genre. And if they refuse to recognize the value of horror, then I refuse to recognize the value of the Academy. So to kick off, I wanted to ask the both of you, do you think, genuinely speaking, that 2023 was a good year for horror?
Yeah, I do. That's all I'm going to say about it. No, I think what we're seeing more of is like more original ideas, and even if they don't really work, I'm just glad they exist.
So agree.
I'm just glad we're getting like really interesting, especially when they're set in the modern day. And I love seeing how people deal with the idea of like mobile phones and technology, and like working around that and thinking of new ways to make things scary. So I'm really into it. It feels more experimental again, which I like.
What about you, Becky?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the trouble is, for me, is 2022 was like such a banner year. It was really strong. And I think it was just a bit of a tough act to follow slightly. But looking back, there are so many titles that do kind of really stand out, and stuff from like big directors with big stars. And as Isaura says, like, you know, original stories. We're not just, we had kind of sequels and legacy sequels and reboots and remakes. And I think they probably took a lot of the kind of box office success when it comes to the genre, but actually in terms of kind of us lot and the stuff that we've enjoyed, and we get the opportunity to kind of see stuff at festivals, and we probably seek out stuff that isn't Saw X and The Nun 2 and things like that, and if you kind of delved beneath the surface and had a look for stuff that's a bit more interesting, it was definitely there in 2023. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty solid.
For sure. I kind of sit in between the both of you. Lots of really interesting original stories. Not so much a great year for sequels, requels, or franchise horror, which actually I think is to the benefit of the genre as a whole. When those franchise titles fail, there is more room to try out and discover original horror stories, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I guess the frustrating thing is whenever there's a new Saw or a new Exorcist or a new Conjuring film, like, people are going to buy those tickets. They're going to go and see it. So the studios probably see their box office numbers and see the ticket sales, and they're like, amazing, let's keep doing this, because we're the idiots who kind of like snap up tickets and go and see it anyway. But I suppose when the actual like critical response comes out, it does highlight that there's stuff that's coming out, if you kind of take the time to look for it, that is going to be more successful for like fans of horror.
And why do you think in general, why in your opinion do you think that awards bodies, the Oscars, BAFTA, all of these huge industry bodies that give out excellence awards, why do you think they have such an allergy to the genre?
I honestly don't know, especially since it's such a big career launcher.
Yes.
Like, so many people, like especially young women, their big breakout thing is like very often horror. Like if you get the lead in a horror film, like it does change your career if the horror film does even like a little bit well. So it's very odd. Like Sophie Wilde's a perfect example, like not to get too much into what we're going to talk about later, but like the stuff she's doing now, and the first thing everyone really knew her from is a horror film that is like, wasn't a big, no massive stars, no, like, and it's launched a whole career. And I think it's honestly just snobbery, like mostly. Yeah. Because I don't think any of them would say, like, any of the Academy voters would say it wasn't good. Like, these films weren't good. It's just they don't take it seriously, no matter how serious the film is. And so I think it's honestly just snobbery that they couldn't possibly have, like, a horror film in no matter how good it is, no matter who directed it. They're always a bit like, oh, couldn't possibly, it's not a serious film. Those are like, I think they think of it as kind of like roller coasters, or like bumper cars. like, yes, they're very fun and they can be very well made, but no one wants to, which is not true, because every year, like, not even like massive horror fans always, but there are people who are like, why isn't this film that everyone's been talking about, like, why is that not being nominated? Why is no one from that being nominated? Even for stuff like special effects or makeup or anything, it's just like very bizarre.
Yeah,
I think.
Go ahead.
I think the technical, the technical categories have sort of over the years fared a little better for horror. So, visual effects and makeup. But like Isaura says, like, not so much now. You've got kind of like made like legends like Rick Baker, for example, who won like 7 Oscars over the years for his effects, and he won the inaugural one for An American Werewolf in London, for makeup. And you sort of look now and like you get these sort of smatterings. So you used to get at least, The Exorcist was it got like a Best Sound nomination and a Best Adapted Screenplay nomination. The Omen got the best score. Jaws got best score and best sound. And so you've kind of got this, like, as I say, this sort of like sprinkling over the years. But if you look in contrast to like the other genres that are so heavily represented at big awards ceremonies, and especially the Academy Awards. It's like, you know, if you think about stuff like Silence of the Lambs, which won the Big Five, even then you get this as, you know, again, like this kind of snobbishness. It's like, oh, well, it's not a horror, it's a thriller. Or Get Out was awarded Best Original Screenplay, but like didn't get Best Picture, didn't get Director. And, you know, it's, and then like these amazing, like crazy snubs. And I know that this is, you know, this isn't exactly a hot take, but the fact that Toni Collette didn't win for, or didn't even get nominated for Hereditary is just like insane. Like, you know, who overlooked her? We Just Want to Talk. Do you know what I mean? Like it's crazy. And I think there is this kind of this idea that horror is almost the sort of neglected stepchild of cinema and Hollywood and even cinema from around the world. And I think it's this idea that it's not quite serious enough. It's like, I think this sort of roller coaster analogy is a really good one, actually. It's like, it's a bit of fun. It's, you know, if you're scaring people, is that really a skill? It's like, well, yes, it is a skill. It's as much of a skill as making people laugh or making people cry. And yet it just doesn't seem to get the respect that it deserves.
I totally agree with both of you, and particularly to pick up Isaura's point about the performance, that I find kind of the most egregious one, because there is this thing about kind of Oscar baity performances, you know, biopics, and, you know, this overcoming some sort of war or adversity in a very polite and easily kind of bow-tied way. Really, or the other, one of my other favorite Oscar baity performance styles is, you know, a huge physical transformation or a lot of preparation, like Bradley Cooper in his 6 years training as a conductor, or losing or gaining a lot of weight, like, you know, Christian Bale used to do back in the day, or Robert De Niro. But the fact that, and I made a list of everyone who was ever nominated for actress, actor, and supporting actor and actress in the history of the Academy. And what's really shocking is that in the actress category in particular, Natalie Portman won in 2010 for Black Swan. Before that, Jodie Foster was the previous winner in the Best Actress category for The Silence of the Lambs since 1991. And since then, and it's debatable whether you consider these films to be horror movies, but the only horror-adjacent performances that were nominated were Rooney Mara for The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. So it's like, are you serious? Since 2010? Not a single performance? Toni Collette, Mia Goth? No one else?
Yeah. And it's like, it's weird because it's performances everyone's talking about.
Yes.
Like, people like still quote the Toni Collette monologue. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's like one of the most iconic monologues delivered so well. It's like the fact that this is in the social lexicon is like so massive. And it just, and Toni Collette in general is like a person who you feel like should have like maybe several Oscars and just doesn't. It's very weird. She's always good, but like it's I do think it's just this thing of like, I think the films, I think Becky mentioned like Jaws and like Silence of the Lambs and stuff winning. I think sometimes it has to be too big to ignore for them to give in. They're a bit like this is too much of a cultural phenomenon for us to completely ignore it. And it feels like they're like less inclined now to do that. Especially if it's a director who almost exclusively makes horror, or like a filmmaker that exclusively makes horror. They seem less likely to bend.
Look, like, you know, you've got Oscar-winning directors who have made horror films. So Catherine Bigelow, Danny Boyle, Steven Spielberg, William Friedkin. Like, you know, they've made horror films, and they've made incredible horror films that would probably feature in people's like top 10, 20, 30 like horror films of all time. And yet those aren't the films that they have been recognized for. But you've got this like Oscar worthy, in sort of air quotes, Oscar worthy talent that is creating genre cinema. But again, I wonder if it's this snobbishness that kind of overlooks them for that, But then you do have these directors who are maybe putting all of their effort into the horror genre, and they're not getting recognized at all. So it's like this kind of push-pull situation.
I think you're so right on that front, because even if you look kind of at the history of the awards, like if William Friedkin makes An Exorcist, that gets nominated for Best Picture. If Jonathan Demme makes Silence of the Lambs, that gets nominated. But that they're not committing to the genre. The only exception I can think of is M. Night Shyamalan, who, well, The Sixth Sense got nominated for Best Picture in '99, but and he's a director who's always committed himself to horror, thriller, and superhero genres in a way. But to go back to another point, kind of, even if you cannot ignore the influence and the cultural impact of a film like Get Out, that was the last horror film that was nominated for a Best Picture award. Only won Best Original Screenplay. I mean, only. That's a great award to win. But that also seems to be the only one where they sort of recognize the originality and the value of horror films or horror stories, because they are often self-generated original stories that, or adaptations of books that are kind of pulp fiction. They're not, Little Women or Jane Austen or whatnot. They're not these big recognized literary books. They're sort of, something someone picks up and goes, oh, there's something in there that would make a great film. And they elevate it so much, like Friedkin did with The Exorcist, or even Jonathan Demme with Silence of the Lambs. And again, we don't have to harken too much about this, but the fact that Daniel Kaluuya didn't win for Get Out in that year still annoys me. He did win eventually, but still.
That Lupita Nyong'o didn't get nominated for Us as well.
God.
Like, that seems like such an overlooked performance.
And it's like, it's frustrating because all the talk about the performances in those songs is like always like this. It's like, it was amazing. It's like, okay, but why isn't that recognized anywhere? Like, we're all talking about it. It's bizarre that we're just pretending that's not. And it makes me wonder what they would do if, like, say, if most of the big directors who always are nominated, if most of their films were horror films one year, like, it would be amazing to see. Like Martin Scorsese, like, just did a horror starring Meryl Streep and Robert De Niro.
Or like Clint Eastwood does a horror film starring Spielberg, Bradley Cooper.
Like all of it's like, what were you going to do then? You're going to have to just recognize it, because it's every year it's just like, I don't know what happens. They just watch it all, talk about them all favorably, and then they're just like, yeah, but no, couldn't possibly win anything.
Never. So let's get into what we're going to be doing in this episode. So no strict rules outside of kind of a light limitation into how many films or performances we're gonna nominate in each category. We're gonna do 5 to 6 films in each of the categories, so we all have kind of a fair shot at a couple of films that we really want to bat for, and then 10 in Best Picture, same as the Oscars do. And we're gonna throw in some spicier categories that are more specific to the horror genre, and we'll get to them as we go along, but we'll follows roughly the structure, the order that the Oscars deliver their awards in. So we'll start with Best Original Screenplay, and we'll do the biggie. So that's performances, director, and Best Picture at the end. And other than that, I am hoping for chaos. I'm hoping for chaos. I'm hoping for screaming. I'm hoping for either deepening or breaking of friendships, and for some good old-fashioned horror podcasting content. So we've all got our favorites. We've got our lists, and we'll go through them. So let's start with Best Original Screenplay. Who wants to start with the ones that they want to bat for?
So I'll start with
for it.
with mine, and my kind of key one for this, I think, would be Infinity Pool. I'm a huge fan of like Brandon Cronenberg's work, but there's something about the just like the conceit of Infinity Pool and the absolute like you've already used the word like chaos in terms of our recording, but there's something so chaotic about Infinity Pool. It felt to me while I was watching it that I was so kind of immersed in like the characters and the world and this kind of absolutely bonkers like story that was being created in front of my eyes. And the screenplay, the script for this just did so much for that. There's like scenes that pop out to me are like Mia Goth's character, you know, they're at the dinner in the evening, and Mia Goth is kind of trying to explain like what her job is, and she like does kind of adverts, and she's like fake bad at things. So she is like badly trying to cut up a bread roll, and there are things like that are just like so absurd, but at the same time they are acting so perfectly to like bring you into the world that is being created on the screen to kind of tell this story. And for me, like screenplays that that will take this conceit and really just like, it's such a confident approach to storytelling, this film. It's not self-conscious. It's just, you know, this is this world that we're trying to create, and these are all of the bonkers like characters and relationships and interactions and scenarios that are all kind of created, that it brought me in so much to the point where I was like, I am on board with everything that is happening in front of me, and at the same time completely baffled by everything that is happening in front of me. And it was like, it was funny, and it's, you know, it's sexy, and it's the interactions between the characters that the screenplay like creates that just kind of really really sort of that sold the film for me. So this has got to be a strong one for me.
I love it. What about you, Sarah?
So one of my picks was also Infinity Pool, but Talk to Me really, like, I wasn't expecting it. I was really like, I didn't know what to expect. I started watching it and I was like, I loved every second of that. Like, I love the world building. I love that this hand is just a thing that they're already doing, like a drug.
Yes.
Like, there's no real big explanation
100%.
scene. It's just like, it's here, the kids are doing it, that's what's happening. I really love, because I do believe that's how teenagers would use it. I love that it's kind of playful at the beginning, even though it's already kind of terrifying. I love their view of it is just to be a bit like, lol. Like, yeah, what dead people can we talk to?
Which is the way that I remember doing it, like playing the Ouija
like,
board and
God,
stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like, that's exactly, like, it wouldn't be with reverence. They'd be like, ha ha ha. They'd be like drinking. It'd be at parties. So I really love that. I love that I kind of couldn't figure out what the family dynamics were initially. I was like, I love that they're not really explaining anything to me. They're just like, oh, she's staying here. She's somehow related to these kids, but also this is her dad. And I was like, okay, I believe you. Because it's like kind of this blended family idea. And it just felt very modern. And I felt that they didn't spoon feed a lot of things.
100%.
And that there was no necessarily like clear cut, this is what's happening. Even towards the end, when it gets more and more confusing about what she's actually seeing, what if something's got inside her, like what's real, what isn't. I kind of loved that it didn't really over explain it. It just kind of let it go a bit off the rails.
I love that there's a bit of mystery to it. Like, they never fully do the thing that you would expect from a possession movie, where someone finds a priest or some sort of, you know, elder, and there's like, oh, this is what it is. This is how you beat it. They try, she tries to figure it out on her own. She can't. And then shit gets really intense and really messed up, and kind of, you can't go back from that.
No.
But it feels very real to the character, and as well kind of upends the structure of those kind of movies a bit too.
Yeah. And even the end, I absolutely loved the very end of it.
Oh God, so
where like
quick.
time is all messed up and she's somewhere else and you don't know how the hand's got where it's got, but it's just a really like finding yourself in this position. Um, and I love the idea of this girl who's like starts off a little bit like troubled, a little bit lonely, a little bit like outcasty, and never really like it's never brought back. It's just like no, she's going to continue fucking up. And I really like that about it, that there wasn't really a redemption arc. It was like no, she's going to fully lean in to this. Yeah, and I just think it was really unique and interesting, and I'd never seen anything like it before, which is hard. And again, it was another thing which I was talking about earlier about how they incorporate like modern, like so like phones or internet or whatever. The fact that everyone's so highly contactable didn't change the outcome of this, and the fact that there's like videos online and that's how everyone sees it. Also, the beginning is like a really strong beginning, like the beginning at the house party, where the guy kills himself by stabbing himself in the head, is honestly one of the, I was like, ah,
It was proper
like, it was
shocking.
Just, yeah,
So shocking.
yeah,
It's one of those classic like horror movie openings that is like a little short film in itself. Like this is my favorite approach to opening any movie. Thank you very much. More of this. Get it in my veins.
Exactly. I love it. And because it kind of tells you this is where it's going to go. This is what happens to people who use it, but you don't really know how you get there. And obviously it doesn't happen to everyone. And I just really like this. I like the folkloriness of it, of like there's only one of these items that somehow passes around, but it's being filmed and shared. So it's also like communal. I don't know. I loved it.
I loved it a lot, and I would bat for that as well. My nomination would be, and this is not just because it's Spanish, but it would be Piggy, because I'm not the biggest slasher fan. I'm not the biggest slasher person. I don't really love the formula and the repetition of the formula. I get really bored of it. And I love that Piggy kind of feels like the slasher that's happening while the main slasher is going on at the same time. So it's like the story that is happening on the margins of every other slasher film that we've seen a million times. And it's set in this small kind of summery town somewhere in Spain. So a lot of that environment feels very recognizable very quickly. The social dynamics between the locals and, the people that come for the summer strictly, the teenagers, how vicious they are. And they truly are vicious. There's a lot of kind of detail contained in, that might not be, it's not necessarily relevant to the story, but it is very recognizable for anyone who knows the language or that environment, how the girls bully the protagonist, Sarah. But when the killer starts killing all the girls except the protagonist, and she just sort of lets it happen.
Yeah.
I love that, because you don't know where to go from that. And it's such a beautiful kind of character portrait, while at the same time you're like, no, but there's a killer in the loose. What are we going to do about that? Oh, we're not really? Not gonna do anything about it. Kind of hot. Oh, that's a not the coming of age movie that I was expecting to watch. So I love the fact that it really fully commits to, I think in someone else's hands would have just been a really farcical conceit.
Completely agree.
Yeah, I love that. Like I never thought about it like that, where it's like, yeah, what we usually see are those girls, like the story of those girls who are kidnapped and I love that it's like, yeah, just on the outside of that, it's like, no, we're actually not following them. Yeah, it's a really good take on it, yeah.
And who wanted to bat for When Evil Lurks?
I will bat for When Evil Lurks.
Go for it, Becky.
It's, for me, this is just what possession movies, like, it's a new example of what possession movies can be. And if I'm going to be really strong about it, I would say should be. Like, we've had so many years post The Exorcist of these girls being possessed by a demon or evil spirit or a dead ghost or whatever, and you know their limbs go all kind of angular and they go up on their back in a spider walk and their eyes roll back in their head and they start like shouting profanities and spitting at people, but mainly it's just a lot of kind of elbows and knees. And what I loved so much about When Evil Lurks was that it took this idea of possession, and a little bit like Talk to Me, it doesn't give you all of this exposition, it doesn't give you all of this history about, you know, what the world is that we're in and the character's relationship to demonic possession, and you know how that has affected the community in the past, etc., etc. You're just dropped right into this situation where there is this sort of, you know, like this guy in a bed and he's swollen and he's got these sores and these boils, and you know they all know immediately and believe and are on board with and know that there needs to be something done about what is happening. And I just thought it was such a fresh and refreshing take on like the possession story that has just become so trope laden and kind of repetitive and overdone. And for me, this, and it was like, it was scary again. I think that's one of the things that I really loved about it. You know, this is from the guy who did Terrifier a few years ago, which again is one of those films that has these memes and these moments that people are still talking about now, like what's one of the most scary like things that you've seen in a kind of a modern classic or a modern horror films. And it's things like the guy under the bed or the kid sat at the table with his glass of milk. And I felt like with When Evil Lurks, again, you've got these images, whether that be the woman with the axe in her face or the scary goat or the dog and the girl or the guy in the bed who's possessed, you know, that looked at this idea of possession and just did something completely new and terrifying with it. And that, like, yeah, it really got me.
I love that. So we can't do a show of hands because we cannot see each other, but who do you think should get the horror Oscar for Best Original Screenplay of 2023?
I think Talk to Me. Because it's the one I bet for. Obviously.
I'm really torn between Talk to Me and When Evil Lurks.
Yes, so am I. Okay, good. Those are my two as well. Those are my two. Like, I know that I am batted for Infinity Pool, but yeah. I've got to say When Evil Lurks and Talk to Me have got to be the two up there for me. Oh my God, this is hard.
Oh, I hate this. I did not think this through. Okay, we're gonna institute a tie. There have been ties in awards, so let's tie between When Evil Lurks and Talk to Me.
Talk to Me.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
Excellent.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, so let's go into our first performance award, Best Supporting Actress. Let's start. I'm gonna go in order from the ones that we have. Barbara, and whoever wanted this performance, wanted to nominate this performance, please speak up and bat for it. Barbara Crampton in Suitable Flesh.
Okay, so this is me again. Barbara Crampton, obviously, horror icon, legend in our time. And the fact that she's never been nominated for an Academy Award, I mean, what the actual fuck? No, but like she's, what I really, really love about Barbara Crampton in Suitable Flesh, which is it's like a Lovecraftian adaptation. It's got all of the Lovecraftian stuff in it that you'd want, you know, miskatonic and sort of like horny sex monsters and all of that kind of thing. And what I loved so much about Barbara Crampton's performance in this film is that she just seems to be having like such a good time. I think as an actress, she always comes across that she she loves the genre, she loves the craft. And, you know, we were talking at the top of the chat about, well, what about these filmmakers who kind of devote their whole career to horror? And really, like, Barbara Crampton kind of has done that. She is somebody who has been working in the genre for decades, and someone who has, like, continued to put in these performances that, if they don't necessarily, like, carry a film because she's in the lead, they are always like these shining performances, and she so often kind of steals what's going on screen. And Heather Graham is kind of, I guess, what you would call the lead in Suitable Flesh, and she's brilliant. She's great. She seems to, again, be sort of, you know, having a great time and having a lot of fun with it. But I just think that Barbara Crampton adds so much weight to this film as this psychiatrist who is she's kind of the colleague of the, like, main woman in the film, played by Heather Graham, the main psychiatrist, and has to she's sort of investigating in the background and things like that. And like I say, she just brings so much weight to it. And you know, I think it's about time we recognised quite what an icon and a legend that Barbara Crampton is. And I love that she's still working today.
Honorary award for sure.
Yeah.
Parker Posey in Beau is Afraid. I think that's you, Isaura?
It is. Basically, I just love any time Parker Posey turns up in anything.
Fair.
I don't care what it is. I don't care if it seems that she's meant to be there. I'm just happy to see her every time. I think she's so cunty. I think she... it doesn't matter what she does. Like, I'm just like, oh, she's Parker Posey. She's doing a great job. And in this particular film... It's arguably one of the calmer moments of this quite manic film, like towards the end when she turns up, and I love it. I love that it's so many weird things has happened, and then Parker Posey turns up, and it's amazing, and even something even weirder than I thought could happen happens. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, of course this is her scene. Who else would do this? Who else would die and go into immediate rigor mortis? Atop Joaquin Phoenix. No one else could do it. And I loved it. I was so happy. I loved a lot of things about that film, but that was probably my happiest moment. I was like, I'm so happy about this. I don't know. I never in a million years could have predicted this, but of course this is what happens. And I just think she can do no wrong. I think she's a perfect being who is amazing. And it just seems like I love the point of her career where she just pops up. She just drops in for an episode or for like a small bit in a film, and it's just amazing, and then leaves. There used to be, my friend Sam Cuthbert used to do Parker Posey Film Club.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. And were you at the one where he called her?
No.
Like,
what?
They had like a video, they had a voice like interview with her. Like, they called her. She's just walking around, like, I think she's at a farm, and she's hilarious. She was basically like a stream of consciousness. She just didn't stop talking. She's like, I'm at the farm and this is happening, and oh my god, how many people are there? Oh, we just watched Party Girl. Oh my god, it was amazing. And she just is just an entity that I don't know. I think she's incredible. She could literally take a shit on my floor and I'd be like, yes. Tens across the board. I love it. So it's always a good day. It takes me a minute whenever I was watching High Fidelity the other day, and she's an episode of that, and it took me like a second to refocus about what was happening, because I was just like, like I was like, wait, I need to go back. Who is she? But yeah, I just loved it. In that mad film with a lot of strong performances and a lot of stuff going on, she really stands out in the only way she could, and up against Joaquin Phoenix, who also turns out an amazing performance. Like, I just think she's a underrated, phenomenal actress who somehow is always herself but can do anything also.
God, yes.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The next one I've got on our list is Alyssa Sutherland from Evil Dead Rise. And Becky, can I join you in batting for this one?
Please, you take it away.
Because I think I fully understood what she was doing once I actually got the chance to speak to her. I did an interview with Alyssa and for another podcast, and it just, the voice and the way that her face was completely different. I know it sounds so incredibly simplistic, but like everything that she was doing in that film, I initially thought that was kind of CGI enhanced. And there's obviously special effects, but her voice, her movements, everything was so unbelievably intense that I genuinely did not think that a human being could do that. And when I spoke to her, just kind of obviously she's not, you know, dead or possessed or trying to kill children as she does in the film. I'm not an idiot, but there's just something, I rarely get this kind of goosebumpy feeling where I'm like, oh my God, you did do that. You did that you're a person and you did that whole thing for months. And I really love when actors really go for this kind of absolutely intense 1000% horror performance. They're like, I am something that does not exist in this universe and I'm gonna go all for it. I'm not gonna try to be like a cool zombie. I'm gonna go absolutely maggoty 1000% going for it. And I kind of miss that sometimes. So I've really, especially the second time I watched it and after kind of interacting with her in an interview, I was like, oh my God, that is some intense stuff you pulled. And there was a moment in that interview where she kind of did a thing and I got the same goosebumps again. I was like, I can't believe you just pulled that out. There's no makeup, completely fresh faced, over zoom. And I'm like, stop it. No, I don't like that.
Is it like when, what's his face? One of the Skarsgårds, Bill, when he does the smile and it's like, oh, that's
the Pennywise.
That's exactly it. So she did this, she had the Skarsgård thing where I was like, oh wait, that was not CGI, that was you?
The horrifying realization they can just do that with their face and you're like, oh no, wait. I will say about that, that performance, all the behind the scenes footage of that film I've seen, she's having the best time. And you can, like, the most fun doing this horror film and all the crazy things they're doing, like in the lift and stuff with her. And she looks like she's having a ball. And I think that really comes through. Yeah. Like, because when you're doing that kind of performance, you really have to throw everything in it and you have to enjoy it. Otherwise, like, I don't know, you can't fully commit, I think, if you're not really just enjoying the ride. And she does.
And the next one on our list is Stella Gonet from El Conde.
This is another thing. This is like my love of just someone popping up. I was not expecting Margaret Thatcher. Can't lie. I was like, when she arrives, because I think I don't say it initially, I was like, she's not like Margaret Thatcher. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God.
If we had a category reveal in a horror film 2023, it has to be that the voiceover for the majority of El Conde has been Margaret fucking Thatcher.
That is a jump scare if I ever had one.
Was not ready. Almost threw my phone. I was like, fuck off. And she did such a good job. And can I just say, this actress, Stella, she also played the Queen in Spencer.
What?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's her. Wait, let me fact check. Yeah, no, it's her. In Spencer, she's the Queen.
I was not ready for that. It's like realizing that the same Australian actor played Charles Manson twice in both Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and then also Mindhunter. I'm like, oh, I don't like that for him or for me.
Imagine that typecasting. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Just your like local friendly. But yeah, she'd be amazing at Snatch Game. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know when it's like, oh, there's people, the Queen and Margaret Thatcher, you feel like they're easy to like do a version of, but like she's like nailing it.
Yeah.
You know, you're just like, oh, you are Margaret Thatcher. Like, what the fuck? Bear in mind, like, you know, old, what's her face? Gillian Anderson's played her. Meryl Streep's played her.
Yeah.
And this, for me, knocked out the park. I was like, oh, it's her. She's just arrived in this film for some reason. I wasn't ready for it, but it feels like she actually just like turned up in a movie, and I was like, ah! Like the scariest thing in this vampire movie is Margaret Thatcher turning up.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
if anybody wanted to make vampires scary again, making Margaret Thatcher a vampire was the way to fucking do it.
The fact that she's like, yeah, of course. It's like, of course. Who else would it be? Who else would it be? And in a film full of like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know who. Imagine reading this screenplay and then being like, wait, what? Like, just this. It would just be so bizarre. And I was like, I love this curveball. I love this gambit. It's so wild and it entirely works. And I was just obsessed with her performance because she was her. Like I jumped like it was her.
Also,
like
it's the right amount of Thatcher that you need in a movie.
Yeah.
I don't need a full 2 hours.
Exactly. Don't need to be about her. But I was like, I believe this. I believe that she is like queen vampire lady. I 100% believe that she's like running shit in her like pearls with her little handbag. I was like, this is exactly what an evil person looks like. And I think she just completely disappeared into the role. Like it felt like I was just watching her.
Yeah.
It really threw me.
I was gobsmacked in the cinema when I watched it. I was like, no, wait, no. But also it makes complete sense. I'm with you.
Yeah, because there's like the first second where you're like, I made such a weird noise. And then it was just like, no, but this makes... Now I'm surprised I didn't guess that Margaret Thatcher would turn up in this film. Like, how did I not predict this? When the second before that, I was like, I can never have predicted this. And I was like, no, it makes so much sense. Of course she's here. Why wouldn't she be here?
Which is like the best twist, right?
Yeah.
That's the best kind of twist.
Yeah, it's like, how did you fit her into this world? I don't know, but you did. So...
the last name on our list is what I think... very much in the vein of Margaret Thatcher showing up in El Conde, is the essence of what I think is a good supporting performance in horror, where it's a little bit of a like, oh, I love you. Oh, you're doing some weird creepy shit. Oh no, but good for you. I like seeing you get work. I like seeing you do things that are kind of out there and interesting. And for me, that's Alicia Silverstone in Perpetrator, the Jennifer Reeder film, which I had a real soft spot when I watched it. And mostly it was because of her, because she's not really had a renaissance in the way that a lot of other kind of beloved 90s or 80s actors have had. But she popped up in The Killing of the Sacred Deer, wasn't it? And she was so odd, but so completely into kind of the weirdness of the film. And similarly here, she's so completely in this strange reality that the film operates in. I'm like, you're so up for anything that you make it fun to watch you. Because every time I see Alicia Silverstone, I'm like, Clueless. That's Cher. That's Cher. Yeah. What's Cher doing playing like a witch lady that also may or may not be vampiric in some way? So when she showed up, I was like, yeah, the role is small, but I love how much she commits to it. So I really want to see her do more horror, because she has that same vibe that Heather Graham kind of has in Suitable Flesh.
Completely agree with that, yeah.
Where she's just like, I'm going to go all in. This is what we're doing? Great, I'm going for it. I'm not going to pull back. There's no like, oh no, this is below me. It's like, no, I'm going full throttle. And I love that.
Yeah. The other horror film, I know that this isn't necessarily relevant to our conversation about, these films, but she's in The Lodge. Do you remember when she's like the mum who dies initially in The Lodge? Another just really short but kind of like just punch you in the face kind of horror cameo from Alicia Silverstone. Yes. I think, I want to see her like next thing. I feel like she's gone from kind of The Lodge, which was really small, to Perpetrator, which was kind of supporting. I want to see her leading a horror film next, please.
Oh, I would love that for her. So who do we think? Let's try to vote. Okay. Who do we think is the best supporting actress?
I feel like I have to go for Barbara Crampton, because I feel like what they do in the Oscars is someone who's earned one but hasn't like demean.
Yes.
the career has earned them one.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Let's mimic the politics of the Oscars as well.
Yes.
Like
I
Jamie
love
Curtis
that.
Let's
Yeah,
go for it.
absolutely. Let's
Okay.
be petty.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Barbara Crampton. I'm voting for her too.
Yay!
Yeah. Long overdue.
Okay. So continuing on, we're into our best supporting actor. And I'll start. My nominee is the bear in Cocaine Bear. And you might think, well, he's the title, so surely he's the lead.
He's the lead.
And perhaps this is a bit of category fraud, which is another staple of the Oscars.
True. He campaigned.
Still just
they
keeping
were
with the
campaigning for
politics of the
somebody
thing.
else in lead actor, so he couldn't go for lead actor as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that one of the staples, one of the markers of a good supporting performance is always leaving the audience wanting more. And when I went to see Cocaine Bear, the first thing that came out of my mouth after the credits started rolling was like, I wanted more bear.
Yeah.
There was not enough bear in Cocaine Bear, and I want to give him some recognition. And you might say, that was all CGI, Anna. And I say, no, I don't believe you. I think that was someone in a costume, and they CGI'd some stuff on the bear's face. But also, you know what? We give a lot of awards for people for addiction stories. And I know addiction is no laughing matter.
Right.
But I think we should also recognize the effort.
Okay, but also it's technically a biopic because this really happened to a bear.
Another beloved type of movie, often recognized by the Oscars. And why, I ask, is based on a true story of addiction being ignored at the
Right.
Academy Awards.
That real bear's at home being like, why is no one taking my very traumatic day seriously? That was tough for me. I had to kill a lot of people. I was very high. I didn't know what was going on. And he just seeing everyone be like, oh, snubbed. Just
It's basically Beautiful Bear, right? It's not Beautiful Boy, it's Beautiful Bear.
beautiful bear. Exactly. And you know what? Debut performance. Never seen that bear before. And if you're my mum, who when she sees animals in things doesn't understand that it's not a real animal, she'd be like, how did they train that bear? So believable. Whenever she sees an animal doing anything, she's like, how did they train it? I'm like, they didn't.
How did that bear know what effects cocaine had on him? Like, how did that bear research?
What research did he do?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I went on a real life bender for 2 weeks. Like, it was really crazy.
I didn't see a single interview with a bear, and I don't know what the hell is going on behind the scenes there. But I think it's
Of
suspicious.
course, if he'd been invited to the Oscars luncheon, like the dog from Anatomy of a Fall, there would have been a big uproar. There'd have been like, this isn't fair.
you know
You're going to get all
what?
the
I
votes
bet
because you
if
brought the
he-
bear to the luncheon.
If he was a polar bear, wouldn't be having this conversation.
Damn
If he was
straight.
white.
Damn straight.
Damn brown bear. Brown bear racism. Just if he was a panda bear, everyone would be very involved. Everyone would be like, yeah, oh my god, so adorable. Brown bear, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
Just your typical Hollywood shit.
Yeah. Jack Black plays a panda bear, gets flown all around the world to present it, goes viral.
Beloved, exactly.
Franchise.
Gets
Where's
to hang out
Cocaine
with
Bear's
Angelina
franchise?
Jolie. Where's Cocaine Bear's franchise? Exactly. You know what? It's an honor wall that you that you picked that. So brave, Anna. So brave.
Well,
Someone
just
had to
doing
say
my
it.
part. I'm doing my
Yeah.
part. Trying to end.
Such an ally.
Yeah.
I
I'm doing my white woman part.
To the bear community.
The brown bear community.
Specifically.
I'm performing my allyship of the week to the brown bear community.
You know what? I also heard he was gay. So
I'm here for the bears.
exactly. All the bears.
Becky, you wanted to vote for, oh God, I'm going to butcher his name and I love him, David Dastmalchian in
Smashed
The Boogeyman.
Smashed it. I mean, I say that with such confidence because that's how I would have pronounced it. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the correct way to pronounce it. David Dastmalchian for The Boogeyman. Now, this man has had a year in horror.
Yes.
So we've got, I know
God,
that these, so Late Night with the Devil doesn't turn up in our list because it had like festival releases, but it's actually only coming out like post us recording. So we couldn't feature Late Night with the Devil, which is a shame because what a picture. But you've got David Dastmalchian in that. You've got him in Last Voyage of the Demeter as well. And he is the kind of psychiatric patient, I guess, at the center of part of the story of Boogeyman. So the bit basically that is most faithful to the Stephen King short story that the film is based on, David Dastmalchian kind of plays that part where he comes into the psychiatrist's like office on the couch, and it's just like it's a really solid horror performance. He's got such a like little bit of typecasting maybe for David. He's got quite a creepy presence, bless him, and he brings that very delightfully to the Boogeyman. You know, he is kind of hiding in closets and being creepy on the psychiatrist's couch. And for me, like, to just kind of embody that, the main kind of Stephen King story, or yeah, like that sort of part of the narrative, I guess, that makes up part of this film. I just thought it was perfect casting and he does a brilliant job.
Yeah.
Love
He's
it.
very good at being like unsettling. Just kind
really
of
unsettling.
Yeah.
I mean, I've kind of like, I haven't gone too crazy on this one because I really want the bear from Cocaine Bear to win. So I don't want to push the David Dastmalchian thing too hard. So I'm going to cut myself off. But you know, like this is me sort of like half in his corner.
Okay, and the other nominee on our list is Nathan Lane in Beau is Afraid.
So I do feel like this film was apparently made to my personal taste. What would Isaura like to see? She would like to see Parker Posey pop up, and she would also like to see Nathan Lane pop up for some reason. And I feel like I could be best friends with Nathan Lane. I love him. So I love when someone I love like that plays someone who makes me a bit like uncomfortable. Because I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could make me feel this way. Good job. Because usually I just want to like hear you talk for like forever, and I was just so, because it was like that perfect combination. It was him and his wife who were like super nice, but there's something wrong, there's something off. And like in anything where someone keeps being like, oh, I need to go, and they're like, yeah, of course, we're gonna drive you, it's just like, it's a bit late now. I'm like, oh no. Like, and I loved that it was him because I don't think he's necessarily an obvious choice. I also love when he plays like someone straight because he's Nathan Lane. And I'm just like, you are always in the birdcage in my head.
Yes.
And I love that he gets to be kind of a campy straight guy. And in this guy, he's quite weirdly like, not macho is the wrong word, but like masculine in a way that he doesn't get to do very often. And I just love him. He's another person who could shit on my floor and I'd be like, thank you very much. Like, I just think he's so funny.
You're inviting a lot of people to shit on your floor, Isaura.
Listen, everyone come round. Pop a squat. But like...
I mean, you know, we were talking off mic about the whole, you know, Will Smith slap and, you know, let's have more controversy at the Oscars. Let's have more kind of wrong things let out. I think maybe somebody just coming up and shitting on stage is the next step.
Nathan Lane should get on the Oscar stage and take a shit. No one would even stop him. Because who's going to stop Nathan Lane from getting on a stage, first of all? You'd be like, oh, he's going to do something fabulous. And then he'd do that. And I think, you know what? I think everyone would be into it because he'd do it with such flair. But essentially, I just think he's so funny. And I think I love the way he talks. And I think he could say almost anything and he could convince you. And so like in this particular scene, because it was, and the actress in the scene is doing the same thing where it's like, in a scene where in any other situation you'd be like, no, you should leave, you shouldn't trust this person. I'm like, no, but you would trust him. You would absolutely trust Nathan Lane if he was telling you he's going to drive you later. Don't worry about it. Just take a load off. Don't worry about it. We'll drive you later. It's getting a bit dark now. We'll drive you tomorrow. It's like, I believe him for a while. I might even move in with him. I might even stay. If I was in Beau is Afraid, I would never have left that scene.
That would be a short film. You'd be like, yeah, this is fine.
Like, okay, this is okay. I can live with Nathan Lane. And I just think I think I'm also pulling back because I feel like I'm in the same frame of mind of Becky, where I really am batting for the Bear and Cocaine Bear. Like, I'm sorry, Nathan, you were also long overdue an award, but like, so's the Bear.
I think it's come time to vote. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm getting the sense that for political reasons, perhaps, the votes are unanimous.
Unanimous.
Yeah.
Unanimously, we're awarding Best Supporting Actor in Horror 2023 to the Bear. Cocaine Bear.
The Bear and Cocaine
Bravo.
Bear. That's history, mate.
Bravo.
That's history
for the Bear community.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bravo, Boo Boo.
Bravo. We love you.
Moving on, and this is kind of a fun, kind of very horror specific category that we made up. It's a we made all of this.
I mean, made up / like kind of engineered.
Yeah, potato, but it's a genre that relies a lot on IP and on franchising and on sequels, requels, prequels, remakes, adaptations, arguably maybe than any other genre, once you hit the jackpot and you get kind of a recognizable franchise, you're gonna rinse that for decades. And then after you've rinsed it all out, you're gonna reboot it, and then after you fuck that up, you're gonna make it into a TV series. So Isaura, why don't you kick us off? Because you wanted to nominate Scream 6.
Yeah, so Scream is like, because it holds such a dear place in our hearts, the original Scream film, and you never know. And it's one of those franchises that actually does quite well with its sequels because they kind of know what they are. They're always a little bit making fun of themselves. And they're always like, it's always very meta and very tongue-in-cheek because they know what they're doing. Like, and so I think it works really well for like the sequel, prequel, like the whole thing, because it's just like, you can kind of do endless things because it's so self-aware. You can do endless stuff. And the new ones, which I wasn't sure how I'd feel about them, I've actually enjoyed them because they've been really fun. Just a fun time. And this one in particular, I was properly like yelling at the screen, which is what I want for a Scream film. I want to feel a little bit insane. The beginning bit where they do the bait and switch where someone gets murdered but it's not the real, and then the person who murdered the woman gets murdered, I was like, yes, it's everything I wanted. I was like, yeah, just keep make it like a serial killer turducken. Just keep putting murders inside of murders where that person gets murdered but they're not the big killer because they get murdered too. I was like, I love it. I could go on forever. And I just think it was like they always find new little things to do. And the fact that they started with, I've forgotten her name, Samara Weaving.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Which obviously she's kind of a horror girl now. So, they've done the whole thing where it's Drew Barrymore at the beginning, where it's quite a big actress who you're not expecting to die immediately, but they kill her immediately. But then that's not the case. I loved it. And I love the horror museum bit, or the Scream museum bit, where they're in like someone's like weird collectible place. I didn't know who the fuck it was. I was like, I don't know what's going on. I love it. I'm so excited. Who is it? Who's collected all this stuff? Who's murdered? I loved Billy Loomis appearing in our lead character's mind to be like, do this. I was like, this is great. This is bonkers. This is the dumbest thing ever. Everyone made terrible decisions. They're like running away from a killer and they're like, let's go into the Scream collectible Hall of Fame because that's the best place to be for this situation. I love any time Courtney Cox is on my screen. especially when she's fighting someone in her nice condo. Loved it. Yeah, I just think they're finding new, and like they might have ended it now with how they're moving with the actresses, but like I think it was a success considering it's such a popular franchise. I think it was a really successful addition. I was like, this feels like something else, but still like harkens back to the original enough. Obviously, Nev Campbell not being in there is sacrilegious, is unbelievable. That's shocking. That's the only thing that really doesn't make it perfect. But yeah, I had a great time. I was in my seat. I was throwing popcorn. I was screaming at the things. I was wearing my Billy Loomis t-shirt. I was having a great time. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Billy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got it,
Like,
yeah, don't doubt yourself. Don't doubt yourself. You're good.
Billy? But yeah, and also the guy who's like her secret boyfriend in it, I'm in love with. So
he's so hot. Don't. How dare you bring him up?
He's like 40% of why I love that film. Because I was like, oh my good God. Like
he's in it for about
like,
3.5 scenes. And that is not enough.
3.5.
But also the perfect
very
amount.
Sweaty, very sexy. Anything he's in, I'm like, I will watch anything this man does. I don't even give a shit. Like, he is so fine.
He could come and take a shit on your floor.
He could. If he wanted to. But not in like I'm adore you way, in a sexual way. He could come and shit on my floor. But like, I was like, I love this. I love this a bit sexy. I was like, he better not be the killer because I'll be so upset because I love him so much.
I think you'd be into it.
I think I would be true. It's true. But he's so nice. I love him. I just want him to be a nice man. But yeah, I had a really good time. And I think that's what the Scream franchise should do more than they do anything else. I think it should be fun. So that's why.
Good.
That's on the list.
Good campaign. The next film I haven't actually seen because it got such a shitty campaign. The Last Voyage of the Demeter?
Demeter,
yeah.
Demeter, tomato, tomato, potato,
tomato,
potato, Nosferatu.
That shit that Dracula was on. That old shit.
I know the shit, but I've never pronounced it out loud.
I know, it's always only been written down because we've never had a film about it before, which is my point.
And you know what? Have we even? Because fucking hell, this film didn't even get released in cinemas, or if it did, it only got put in 2 cinemas.
It was released for like 5 minutes. Yeah. And they're like, that's enough. Yeah.
Yeah, ridiculous. I don't know what happened. The release schedule in the UK was absolute garbage. I managed to catch it. And I'm happy to report for anybody who wasn't lucky enough to catch it. It's all right. It's not like, it's not gonna...
A glowing endorsement. It's all right.
It's not gonna change your life, girls. All right.
So fucking funny.
I just wasn't expecting. I'm happy to report. It's all right. You know what? I didn't hate it.
all right.
Didn't want me kill myself.
No.
So it's fine.
You know what I love? That this strikes me as like the Oscars campaign equivalent of... It's based on a true story. It's based on a really important book.
Yeah.
You know, it's Dracula. And
Do you know what?
Go for it. Yeah.
Do you know what? This isn't going to win this category. I'm not going to be able... I'm not going to be able to give it enough big up that it's going to win the category. But the main reason I have nominated it is the adaptation reason. And the adaptation reason is that they have taken, and I think this is very clever, they have taken this one section of Dracula and they have gone, do you know what? Actually, it would be really fucking interesting to see what happened on this boat. And I am into that. Dracula is one of my favourite ever novels.
Yes.
I wanted to see what happened on the boat. And it turns out Dracula...
What happened on the boat, Becky?
Tell me what's hanging, fuck's sake! You're worse than the distributor.
listen. Dracula on the boat is really scary. He's fucking scary. And that is what I liked about it, was that finally, once again, Dracula was scary. He's this horrible, horrible monster that is working his way around this fucking boat, killing everybody off. He kills dogs, he kills kids. And if you're killing dogs and you're killing kids, then you are somebody to truly fear. And I thought that as an adaptation of a small portion of a book that I love, Last Voyage of the Demeter/Demeter, was very successful. Thank you very much, Anna Bogutskaya, Evil Dead Rise.
No, can I tell you one more? I love that they also incorporate all the locals being like, oh my God, I won't touch that box. Oh my God, God be with you. And everyone's just like, okay, I guess this is chill. I mean, everyone's very scared of this box, but it's probably fine. And I love that in case you weren't sure that Dracula was evil, they're like, he kills a dog, guys. I don't even think the kids are part of it. I think people will turn on someone if they kill a dog, but more if they kill a kid. So they were just like, he killed the dog. So just so you know, this is not your Twilight vampire shit. This is scary Dracula.
There is no sparkly bump bullshit in this. There's no romance. He is killing dogs and children, and I'm therefore here for it. He's a true
monster. And also, I love that they have a really corny, which is in the trailer twice, where the lead girl is like, we call him Dracula, and I was like, I love they've gone with the full, like, the Count from Sesame Street, like, we call him Dracula.
100%.
Like, okay,
from I think she's like an Italian/Australian actress. It's the woman from Nightingale. She's amazing.
Yeah, Ashland from Jersey, yeah.
Thank you. But she really fucking turns on that pronunciation of Dracula.
Yeah. I was like, perfect, amazing, no notes. No, I love it. What happens on the boat?
Scary Dracula kills kids and dogs. That's what. That is what.
That's how they should have marketed it. Yeah.
That's how.
Look, my old career in PR wasted.
Truly. Still time to pivot. Oh
I would love on the poster of that film, just like Becky said, it's all right.
Yes. Do you know what, guys?
It's all right.
I'm happy to report it's all right.
Okay, so the film that I added was Evil Dead Rise. Which I'm gonna do a very short and sweet campaign for it. The title credit really slaps. That fucking shit absolutely rocked.
This is what I was talking about earlier with the intro to whatever we were talking about earlier. What were we talking about earlier? That's got the intro.
Oh, Talk to Me.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
This is it. It's got the horror short at the beginning of the feature, and this is what I love.
And then the titles, there's like a sequence at the lake and the titles rise up. And honestly, I had a whole conversation about this. I'm not the best grammatical expert. I'm not a grammar expert. I don't think Evil Dead Rise actually makes sense, but damn does it look good rising up of a lake. And that might be the only rising that happens in the film. And you know what? It's enough. It's enough for me. And frankly, I love Evil Dead. And I liked the secret reboot thing that they did in 2013. But this, I was trepidatious. I was like, oh, I don't really want this. It makes no sense. If it's not going to be funny, if it's not going to be Sam Raimi, I don't care about it. But then it was proper gory. The performances were great. It was real brutal. I was like, oh, this is just a standalone thing. The book, the Necronomicon, is actually proper scary. It's really weird looking. And the title sequence really slaps. That's all I need, really, in a reboot. Go hard, but without too much pretension.
Yeah. I will say the only thing I couldn't get my head around was that I wasn't in the cabin. I was like, what the fuck is this? Why are we in an apartment? And I really couldn't let it go.
I love that it was in an apartment. I was like, oh, great. Apartments at horrors. I love that because I also live in an apartment and I'm scared of it.
Not in a cabin in the woods. I watched it with my brother and I literally wouldn't shut up about it not being in the cabin. I was like, are we going back to the cabin? do they go to a cabin? I was like, what's happening? Where's the cabin? And he was like, you need to calm down. Clearly the cabin bit was at the beginning and now we're here. But I was like, no, at some point we're gonna, I feel it. And then even when they broke into the bit downstairs, I was like, the cabin's gonna be underneath there. And I was like, no, it's just not that. That's not what's happening. So I was just looking for the cabin the whole time. And I need to rewatch it because I need to like watch it without being insane.
So obsessed with the cabin.
Yeah.
Right? Becky, you want to make a quick case for suitable flesh?
Very quick. Again, like huge Lovecraft fan. And I just thought that Suitable Flesh did a really great job of like updating Lovecraft for a 2023 kind of audience and a 2023 sort of sensibility. Like, it's really hot and sexy, and like laugh out loud funny and silly, but still keeps all of those elements of, apart from the racism, which nobody wants, of the like Lovecraftian kind of like cosmic horror side of things. So you've got the like Lovecraftian fuck monster situation, and you know, ancient daggers and fucking magical symbols and
Love
all
a bit
of
of
the
sex magic.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't.
All of the kind of miskatonic stuff. And as a fan of his storytelling, I really enjoyed kind of being immersed in some of that more kind of Lovecraftian like trope stuff, but like really brought sort of up to date with 2023. So yes, just big fan, really enjoyed Suitable Flesh.
We love Lovecraft, do not love his racism.
Exactly.
Not again.
Thank you.
Isaura, you wanted to bat for Saw X?
Yeah, because why? So I have seen I saw the first Saw and then I saw the second Saw and I was like, that's enough for me. Actually, I'm fine, don't need to see any more. And then I saw this one. Because I was like, you know what, it's time to dip my toe back in to the Saw universe. And I loved it. I love that we're just like watching him be like, I have cancer. It's like, how am I meant to feel about you being ill? Because he's all like, oh, I wish I had it. He's like, why do you want to be alive for longer? So you can just like do more Saw traps? Like,
Yes.
He's like, guys, I've got to find a miracle cure for my brain cancer so I can continue to like lock people away and make them play games. And I just love that he's like this kind of sad, like normal guy. Like when he's at... It's not even about the actual deaths. It's all the bit before. Like when he's just like, I don't know, getting like a coffee or something. He bumps into this guy, you know, it's like, do you friends? And he's just like, oh yeah, my cancer. And like, I'm like, you're just being like a regular dude. And it's so weird. Yeah. Like, stop having conversations with people. And then I also loved how emotional this one was for no reason. Like him and his like mentee, who she's like, oh God, I'm finding my internship at this new job just a bit tough. Because I'm really feeling for that addict girl. But he's like, listen, you got to toughen up. And I'm like, yeah, if you want the job, like, then you really got to get it together. No feelings. And I love the end. Literally the middle bit, couldn't care less about. Like, yeah, he kills people in a bunch of very inventive ways. Also, this is a conversation me and you've had before, Anna, where I'm like, I want to see the working bit. I would like
you want to see the building.
I want to see him draw these little out and like make them. Because I'm just like, so it's like we've gone away and come back and he's just built these like insane timed incredible things. Like I want to see the plans. I want to see like the trial and errors where he's like, no, that didn't work. Do something else.
That might be Saw 11.
Yeah. Like I want to see that part. But like the end bit where like the little boy who's in it for like 2 seconds, who he forms an incredible like emotional bond with for some reason, who gets roped into like the whole Saw situation. And at the end, like they're giving him hugs. I'm like, this little boy does not know you. He's just been dragged into this nightmare of your creation. And then at the end, you're all like, don't worry, we saved you. I'm like, oh, what's going on? And like the way the end plays out is as if the little boy was the one in danger the whole time and the whole film was working to get him out. Well, it's like, no, you pulled him in the last 20 minutes.
Listen, I'm gonna say this on the record now, and I will bet anything that in 20 years, less than that, in 5 years, they're gonna make Saw 20, Saw XX, and the little boy is gonna be the protagonist because of that one time he interacted with John Kramer, and he was like, well, you know, we kept in touch. We stayed friends on Facebook. He showed me all his plans for the murder traps. He showed me all the locations.
And he'll be committing murders in space.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's like, I never forgot how kind he was to me that time when he built that machine that was going to kill me, but then to save me from it. You know what? But if I'd watched Saws 3 through 9, I bet I would have figured that out. But, you know, I haven't. So I didn't. I was like, I don't understand. I just love. I was like, I don't feel like you've earned this, but I'm really enjoying the fact that you're like, we did it. We saved the boy. Let's walk him out now to, I don't know where his family are. But they're like, let's walk him out of this torture shed, despite all the stuff he's seen, and let's also give him a bag of money. And he's just like, thank you. Like, he's literally just been waterboarded. And they're walking him out.
Amazing.
And they're like, here, this is for you. And he's like, gracias. And you're like, do you have no questions? No questions. You're good.
Listen, if someone gives me a bag of money after they've just waterboarded me with blood, I'm not going to ask any more questions.
No, I'm taking it and I'm off.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, why isn't he a shaking little, like, I was like, listen, everyone else in the room is like a mess, but you're like, even the guy who created the whole thing, he's a little bit more shaken up than you are, and you're like, bag of money? Oh my God, thank you so much. And like, where is he taking it to? Is he safe? Who's driving him? Like, what he's going to tell his parents? He's going to be like, yeah, know that place I hang out and play football? Well, actually, this guy murdered a bunch of people in there. I saw a lot of body parts, a lot of death. I got waterboarded a little bit, but it's fine because I got taken out and here's his bag of money. Don't worry about it. Like, I just want to see those parts because I'm obsessed with them. And I just love that that's how the film ended. Like, it was some like feel good, cheerful romp where they saved a kid. But it's
in one way, it is.
In one very specific way, it is. Yeah. But I was obsessed with it. I was like, I don't know what's going on here. He's got cancer. He's so sad about it. He's like, I'm going to punish you guys because you know what? My cancer is not to be trifled with, actually. And I was like, also, he's quite smart, right? He builds all these things. I was like, do you really? You didn't feel that there wasn't a scar? You didn't feel that your head hadn't been cut into? Like, in the healing process? Like, what painkillers do you think you're on? Like, you think there's a miracle way to, like, remove a massive tumor from your literal brain? Like, come on. But I loved it. I loved that approach to it. I loved everything about it. I loved it. It was so emotional and weird.
I love it.
10 points. Yeah.
Love it. Mine is boring after that because there are no little kids involved. But it's Pearl, which is a prequel to X. And I know technically it's maybe a 2022 film, but it got released in UK in 2023. So whatever, don't come for me. We're all making it up. Calm down. It's I loved how psychotic this film was. I love the whole Technicolor, this is kind of Wizard of Oz After Dark kind of vibe. I love how demented Pearl was. I think Pearl as a character healed me a little bit of my own shit, because when I saw her I was like, oh yeah, I should probably not feel that way about certain things. Like, yeah, okay, yeah, I see.
Wait,
I see now.
Wait, I'm sorry. You were watching Pearl and identifying? You were like, aha, finally a film about me.
No, it's not about me, but it is about this like very intense, like, I must win this competition for my very specific reasons, so nobody else must win this competition. It must be me. I am a star. And I'm like, okay, you know what? It's time to calm down. And sometimes
back away from the screen, Begatskaya.
Sometimes participating is just as good and is plenty.
Sometimes winning is the friends we made along the way. Like, I love this idea. I no part of me watched that film, but I was like, you know who this reminds me of? Anna. Oddly enough.
Listen, I'm
this
grateful
has really
for that.
Terrifying. Terrifying to know you could have killed me with an axe at any point.
I would never kill you with an axe, but
I don't know. She could have turned on anyone. That's fascinating. Good to know.
There is one of my favorite parts in this film reminded me of when I don't think I did this, but who knows? When I was on the streets dating, and you know when she sleeps with the unreasonably hot projectionist,
yeah,
and then he comes into her house and he sees the rotting pig on her doorway and like smells the dead bodies in the house, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. He's very polite about it, and she gets all up in his face, and she's like, what do you mean? What do you mean you're gonna go? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I was like, oh yeah, sometimes you just don't feel it, and that's also okay.
You know what?
They're just not that into you.
Yes.
With that particular guy, says if I lived a sheltered life like she had, and then hot projectionist man was like, come watch films from my projectionist box, and also let's make love, I'd be like, yeah, I'd be thinking we're going to get married too, to be honest.
Yeah.
Also, she's already married.
Oh yeah, shit, she is. She had a perfectly good husband at home.
Again, potato, tomato.
Well, someone told me about their grandparent the other day who kept marrying men because her husbands kept going off to like join the Navy or stuff. And she'd be like, well, I guess he's not around, so I guess I get to get married again. She got arrested for like polygamy.
I love this story.
And I was like, well,
where's the movie about her?
Blame her? It's her story. Could they blame her if they're not around? Who's to say if I still have a husband? Who's to know what he's doing out there on the sea? So you know what? Fair dues to her. Like, if your husband's gone, then you get to pick a new husband. I think that's the rule.
So with all of these campaigns in mind, what do you think is the best sequel, requel, remake, adaptation, reboot?
I'm voting for The Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Me too.
Oh God,
me too. Because
you know what, guys? It's all right. Do you know what, guys? Really sold me.
I'm
really
happy to report it's all right. Yeah, it's all right.
Me.
Do you know what? I'm gonna do what a lot of Academy members do. I haven't even seen the film, and I'm gonna vote for it.
Yeah,
because you know what? I like Dracula.
Tagline, yeah, it got me. Good job. Like, they should put that on the poster because it got me.
My career as a film critic is, just it's like solidified here, I feel.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to move on to Best Actress, where we have way too many names on the list. Too many. But
women are too good.
There's just too many.
Do you know what, guys? Do you know what? This has never happened at the Oscars. There's too many women.
Too many women. What a great problem to have.
I think, Becky, you and me can start out because we're both voting for the same lady. For two different films.
Different movies.
Oh my God. Who? Only Meryl. From Pearl to Pearl, Mia Goth. She was the queen of horror in 2023. Yep. Two stunning performances. Absolutely batshit in both of them. You know what? Also, she does so few interviews. She's so kind of private that you don't, whether that's her team or her, don't actually care. Good for her. Live your life. I don't need to know anything about you. Everything I need to know is on the screen. And I love how insane she goes, how high octane she goes.
Yeah.
I would personally vote for Pearl because that is so much her movie. She's not part of an ensemble, and she gets to go full throttle. And even if for the scene where she swings so hard with the axe that she falls backward, and then the camera continues rolling as she kind of picks herself up and continues running towards this guy trying to murder him, but the axe clearly weighs more than she does, so it's this really lumbering walk. And I was like, that's acting. And I love it and I appreciate it. I see you, Mia Goth. Well done.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for Mia Goth in Infinity Pool, if nothing more than for her pronunciation of the name James.
James, yeah.
James! There is a bit where she is on the hood of a car with a bucket of chicken and a bottle of wine, and then she loses her wine over the side of the car and exclaims, "My wine!" And again, there are just some line deliveries in this movie that are nothing short of Oscar-worthy. Again, the Queen of Horror 2023. She was incredible in Pearl, but I think it's worth also acknowledging her role in Infinity Pool. So that's what I'm batting for.
Absolutely. And the next one is Sophie Wilde in Talk to Me.
This is like the first thing I ever saw this girl in, and she carried the film's performances. Basically, like, everyone was very good in it, but she's obviously like the main attraction. And I was like, for this to be like, as far as I know, debut feature or like first big thing you're in, and to be this good. And what really nails it for me is the montage scene, that amazing montage scene.
Oh God, yes.
Where they're doing it over and over again. She is incredible, considering it's like there's music over it. What she's doing with her like body and performance is so like you really believe, like, she's some of it's so subtle, and I'm like, but I believe she's a different person. And I think she switches between like the emotional and something else quite well. There's just something really, I don't know, mesmerizing about her, and I think she was incredible. And I think to carry that kind of film, like, this such a weird, cool film, and to deliver that kind of performance where you, by the end, you're just like distraught for her because it's just all so fucked up. I think was incredible.
Unbelievable kind of breakout performance.
Yeah.
And Becky, you love Laura Galan in Piggy?
Love. There's something so like vulnerable about this performance, but also so like defiant and strong and sexy, and it's so wonderful to see a performance of a character that is so put down because of their physical appearance to just kind of transcend that, to really like show the heart and the like the kind of hatred behind it as well. Like, I think you were talking earlier, Anna, when we were talking about one of the other other categories, about how, you know, she's watching these bullies be kind of carted off by this serial killer and stuff, and the way that she portrays the reaction to that, it's quite I think it's easy to make that a really like unsympathetic reaction, but Laura Galan like makes it so empathetic, and you are so with her. It's like, fuck off in that fucking van with him. And like her relationship with her parents and with, you know, the neighbors and the guy who she sort of has a crush on, and then like the killer guy, and it's such a multifaceted performance. And at the same time, it's so kind of simple and believable and like sympathetic, I guess, or empathetic.
Yeah.
And I just think she's absolutely phenomenal in it. I thought she shone and really like deserves to be recognized for it. So yeah, that's my slightly more earnest review of this performance.
Oh, I love it. And I love that film. And mine is also going to be a little bit earnest. Maybe because, I don't know, the Best Actress one is kind of more sincere. But mine is Aisling Franciosi in Stop Motion, which is the debut feature film by quite a well-established animator, Robert Morgan. And it's about a stop-motion animator who's sort of very put upon by her animator mom. And when the mom dies, she's kind of left adrift, and she thought that she'd be free of this big kind of force that's been stifling her, but she's very discombobulated and kind of unmoored. And she starts doing this kind of film that she wants to make, but it gets all weird, and it starts playing around with whether it's real, whether it's actually happening, whether it's the film, whether it's her losing grip on reality. And for someone who I've not, she landed on the scene in The Nightingale, and that's an incredible performance of a very different kind. But here she's so prickly, very unlikable. Like, you don't really wish her well, in a sense. There's nothing really to grasp onto her, except she wants to do this thing really well. Like, she really puts her blood and her time and her soul into this film, and you kind of don't get it until the very end of the film. I guess that's also kind of animation in a way, because you don't really see, it's just like these little clay creatures, and the only person who sees the full picture, the full thing in their heads, is the director, the animator. And then otherwise you don't really understand the meaning of it. And I think she just so beautifully went into a really, really dark place with that performance. I loved her.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen this yet, but I'm so excited to, and I'm a big fan of Aisling Franciosi. So yeah, I'm very excited.
And the last one we have is, God damn, I'm gonna fuck this up. Christine Kuja Thorpe in Sick of Myself. Yes,
that lady, Christine. I love this film. So I should have maybe given you such a hard time about your views on Mia Goth and Pearl, because part of the reason I love this is, like, I could totally see how this could happen. I could totally see it. Like, if I can see the freedom in having your face all bandaged up and just being like, yeah, had a really hard time, actually. Really difficult life, really ill. Like, I could see how someone could do that. I could see why she's leaning in to this. And I think it was so funny and, like, unhinged. Like, even from the first bit with, like early on, like at the dinner party, where she's like, you can see how frustrated she is every time her boyfriend says something that, like, kind of takes away, like, a little bit of her attention and shine. And I was like, I love this. I love that her biggest op is her boyfriend. And she just wants to win at everything. Even, like, just anything for attention. And I was like, she played this, escalated so well. Like, you could see how this character could get there. Like, at no point was I like, oh, this is crazy. I was like, no, I could see how she could get there. She was on the way. She was always on the way to here. And I thought it was, like, so weird and so funny, and there were so many awkward bits that I was like, oh my god, like I was literally, like, cringing in my seat, because I was like, oh my gosh, she's gonna get found out, oh my god, this is so embarrassing. But I loved it. And I think it's, like, quite a difficult part to play, because in a lot of ways the girl is, like, she's, like, seemingly normal. Like, she's just a girl you could meet somewhere. Mm-hmm. Like, she doesn't feel like this exaggerated character. And I'm like, and I love stories like that where someone just plays long con. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, yeah, at what point do you stop and go, no, it's not true? It's like, you can't, you have to keep going. And I loved it. I believed her. I was like, yeah, I feel like I could know someone like this.
You probably do now.
I probably do. And I would love that. Because I'd be like, oh my god, did you hear about so-and-so? Yeah, never fucking sick. Like, I would have been like, it'd be the best gossip for ages, for years. It'd be amazing. She did everyone a service, giving them just absolutely chef's kiss gossip for ages. There'd be so many theories about what's wrong with her. And I was like, I don't think anything's that wrong with her. I think I don't even think it's that wild. I think she just got a little bit carried away. But I loved it. I think she was amazing in it, because I was like, the fact that you're making me believe this is a step this woman would take, even seeing everything happening to her body, that she'd be like, yeah, I'm just gonna keep going, I guess. I'm like, this is completely believable. I would, if I read the story in the newspaper, I'd believe it. So I loved it.
So who do we think is the best actress 2023?
Can Mia Goth not win when she's in it twice?
I was just going to say, it's got to be Mia Goth. And even though I batted for Infinity Pool, I think it's got to be Pearl. But does it really matter as long as she wins?
Mia's just winning. So I don't even... And you know what? I do like Mia Goth sometimes, but the little girl voice really... Sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I want to reach into the screen and like smack you in the mouth a little bit. But like... just a little bit. But like... Just a smidgen. But I think you can't be in the category twice and not win it. That's crazy. That would be like, I don't know.
That would be a major upset.
There'd be outrage. There'd be riots in the streets of LA if that happened at the real Oscars. So
Mia Goth it is.
Mia Goth.
Well
deserved.
So now we've got less names here, which I appreciate, including one that I tried to shoehorn in, but it's not fair because it's only getting released this month in the UK.
Only 4 men. If only men were good at things. So embarrassing for them.
No, not a good year for men in horror. Let's go on to the best actor category. Okay, let me kick off with Joaquin Phoenix and Beau is Afraid. I don't think I need to say anything more. This man goes through everything, including seeing his own penis as an entity with arms, kind of outside of his body and trying to eat him. His mom is really mean to him. The first sex he ever has, she dies on top of him. Amazing. You know, Nathan Lane it tries to con him. The guy from a French actor guy tries to run at him forever and ever and ever. He becomes a puppet. You know, he really goes through it.
He becomes a puppet.
And frankly, like, the first part of the movie is the one that really stressed me out the most. This is 3 hours of anxiety, fever, dreaming. And the first part, which is when he tries to pay for a bottle of water and his card doesn't go through, and the guy at the corner shop I mean, understandably, he's kind of a dick about it. And this guy is just trying to make his card go through and it won't go through. Just for that, I've been that guy. And just for that moment, I was like, give him all the Oscars. The fact that this performance... The fact that I'm feeling coming. The fact that Joaquin Phoenix has a fucking Oscar for the piece of shit that is Joker, and not for something like Beau is Afraid, I think is a tragedy of the arts. Worse than anything's ever happened to the Oscars. Worse than Crash, and it should be stricken from the record.
Yeah, you're right. Because this is a performance of performance. Like this is the full range of Joaquin Phoenix. Like he has sons that he loses. Like, I don't know. Like, so much happens to this man. Even the bit, like the fact they got Joaquin Phoenix to run, like when he's running off, I was like, they have got Joaquin running full pelt. Like, imagine meeting middle-aged, Oscar-winning, world-renowned actor, like, and being like, you're gonna run for your fucking life. Like, I want to see you, like,
she might be
fast as you can go. Yeah, full pelt, fast as you can go. You're running, and I was like, just even being able to say that to the actor, like, yeah, you're gonna do it. Like, I was like, they had this man running. Loved it. In pajamas the whole film. Imagine again meeting Joaquin Phoenix being like, here's your costume.
I mean, that sounds like a dream. Isaura, you're an actor. What if someone gave you, it's like, you're going to shoot this for 6 months, but you got to be in pajamas the entire time?
you have to remember that they're getting sweatier and grimier the whole way through.
But
So initially,
surely they have more than one pair.
No,
yes,
you get
you're
one
getting
pair.
into, like, crustier. No, actually, they're probably less pairs than you're thinking they do. I'm telling you now, because for continuity. I'm guessing there are stages of it, but if you're in that stage, you're in that pair for several days, maybe weeks. And, you know, the stuff they're using to make it look gross, even though it's not actual sweat and probably not actual dirt, it still is going to be like crusty and uncomfortable. It's going to not feel nice to be in. So even the fact that they're like, this is it. And these unflattering for your middle-aged male body, silk pajamas, this is you, and you have to run in them. Run. Sweat, Joaquin, cry. You know, yeah.
I mean,
for this, like, there's just that one moment for me that any time I think of Joaquin Phoenix in this film there's just that one like reaction shot where he goes back to his door and he realizes that the keys have been taken. And I would give him this award just for that, like just for that reaction. And I think the camera is on his face for probably a maximum of 2 seconds, and yet that reaction is one of the most perfect pieces of cinema that I've ever seen in my life. It's unbelievable.
Just a tour de force, this guy.
You know, scared Joaquin is good Joaquin. Like him in Signs when he's terrified in the closet with his dog. I'm like, you know what? Yeah.
Put it on a fucking t-shirt.
Scared Joaquin. Yeah, we love it. Scared Joaquin is good Joaquin. Like, we love a scared Joaquin. He's in his element when he's like a bit, like, very fearful. It's not even my guy. Like, really bad for him. He's like my man.
Well, Isaura, let's bat for your guy, Jaime Valle in El Conde.
Is that how you say his name? Oh, wow. I was not saying that correctly.
Why? How would you say it?
Jamie Vidal.
Jamie Vidal.
Oh, come on, guys.
Jamie Vidal.
Come on. I will not take
Jamie.
this. He is Chilean.
Jamie Vidal.
Right. Jaime.
Jaime.
His real name. This is mostly because, okay, this is going to sound really stupid after what we just said about Joaquin Phoenix, but every time there was a every time,
because
sorry, I'm not laughing, that there's a scene with him flying. I lost my mind. I was like, I could watch 3 straight hours of him flying around. Because it was so, like, non-fancy, like, yeah, just fly. And I was like, this is exactly how this age man would fly about as Dracula. He's like, I'm not going to do anything fancy with my arms.
Yeah.
Just flying.
Yep.
Flying straight, flying steady. His little cape flapping.
Yeah.
He's non-excitement about flying, non-interest in anything. Just like, oh, here I go again. Obsessed.
He's not excitement about anything. He's like, oh.
Apart from that nun.
He's so tired.
Yeah, apart from that nun, he's like, okay, you know what, actually. And Margaret Thatcher, he's a bit like, oh, shit. But him flying around, I lost my shit literally every time. I was like, I love this. I love everything about this. I love how grouchy he is. I love that he's just exhausted. Because I feel like you would be. You've lived for so long. You'd be like, oh, God's sake.
Yeah.
Oh, so tiresome being me. He's annoying kids just around all the time. It's like, yeah. He's shitty fucking children just after his money. Yeah, obsessed with a grumpy Dracula, a grumpy, like, 1,000-year-old vampire, but mostly it was him flying. It was the little flappy cape and he's like bored face, and I was like obsessed. Literally give me 10 straight hours of it, put it on a projector. I just want to go to sleep watching it, wake up watching it. I loved it. With just the sound of the flap, I loved it so much. Really, this is actually like a sneaky nomination for the cape, really, is what this is.
I don't know why the sound of the flap just really big.
The sound, and oh my God, I'm losing my mind every time. Literally, I was like, oh my God, poetic cinema like that. I was like, this is perfect. And it just absolutely like fucked my shit up. I loved it.
Becky, you are going to bat for Judah Lewis in Suitable Flesh, are you?
I am. I'm back with Suitable Flesh. Judah Lewis. So he plays the like the kind of psychiatry patient slash, and you know what I love about this, and again this is slightly coming back to some of the stuff that we've already talked about, like what makes an Oscar nominated performance is he hasn't, you know, put on or lost a load of weight. He's not kind of playing like an anti-Nazi kind of, you know, hero or anything like that, but he does the kind of like schizophrenic or sort of 2 or 3 personality things so well. And what he reminds me of is Primal Fear. So, you know, Primal Fear with Richard Gere and Edward Norton. What a fucking film. And what I feel like is in this, in Suitable Flesh, Judah Lewis is very much channeling Edward Norton in Primal Fear. So you get that kind of that switch, that kind of, you know, he's very sort of like polite and sort of non-offensive, and then he will switch, and then you get this like sexualized kind of like ravenous, aggressive, violent kind of persona coming through. And for me, like, you know, Judah Lewis isn't somebody who's familiar to me at all. I don't think that I've seen him in anything else, or if I have, like, it's not something that kind of stood out or that I've less necessarily noticed him in. This is probably the first thing that I've really like kind of clocked him in. And it just like, as a performance, it just like really captivated me. And like in terms of like getting me into the film and making me kind of believe the batshit stuff that was going on, Lovecraftian wise, I thought that he just nailed that sort of like dual personality, kind of like switching, playing one side, playing the other, being kind of meek, being violent, being aggressive, being kind of passive. I thought he was great. Solid.
Fuck yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Shall we leave it at those and pick one of those 3?
Joaquin Phoenix.
I think Joaquin Phoenix wins it.
Has to be.
Yeah.
Has to be.
With, I think, a honorable mention for the cape.
For the flapping.
Yeah. For the flapping cape in the wind.
100%.
I love it so much.
Okay, so moving on to an honorable Oscar, you know, how sometimes an honorable horror Oscar, you know, how sometimes they'll pepper through like, oh, you know, best achievement, lifetime career type of thing. I thought, and going back to something you mentioned, Isaura, about Saw X, one of our most enduring villains, active since 2004, it's been 20 years that he's building those murder traps. The John Kramer Award for Pettiest Villain, I think, should be an honorary achievement every year.
Yes.
And let's hear the nominees. Starting with the Meg in Meg 2.
Good friends with Cocaine Bear, actually. Very good friends. Very close.
Besties.
Yeah.
And rivals.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Oh, I'm doing it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, you put yourself down to do it.
I did. So as I mentioned when we were talking about Cocaine Bear, I love an animal that has like, it's like, you know what? I'm extra mad today. I'm not just killing people because I'm a bit hungry or because it's my nature. I have a vendetta. I'm kind of trying to kill specific people. I'll kill some other people along the way, but I'm going to go after specifically these people. And the Meg 2 delivers on that front. Imagine being like, I mean, you're literally like so old, one of the oldest creatures, but you're like, you know what? I hate these scientists. I'm alive by some miracle. I'm swimming around the ocean, have all the ocean in the world to swim around. But you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to follow some people and murder them because why not? Because they ruined my Saturday. And the Meg 2 does that. You could literally go anywhere. You're the Meg. And at this point, there's other Megs, right? So you have like family and friends. You could have a whole life. It's very the Count of Monte Cristo,
Yes.
where it's like, is revenge, is it worth your life? Or could you swim off? Could you be happy elsewhere? Maybe leave Jason Statham alone. Maybe have a nice life elsewhere, the Meg. And by the end, I mean, she's killing people. She's just murdering everybody. And I love at the end because like so many tourists have died. So many people have died. But by the end, they're like, oh God, thank God that's over. Like literally so many people are dead. You can't thank God that's over. Like you just unleashed a vengeful Meg. And I think there's a giant squid or octopus at the end, by the end too, who's also has been like awoken from its slumber. Is like, I'm pissed, furious, murdering everybody. It's like, you guys do not need to be doing this. You don't need to be doing this. This is silly, guys. The whole ocean is your, what do you say? The world is your oyster. The whole ocean is your oyster, right? You could be killing whales. You could be eating like, I don't know, whole great white sharks, right? Only thing that maybe is as old as you. You could be appearing in the back of tourist photos, like blurry in the back of a photo, creating a mystery for years to come. Instead, you're on some small beach just trying to murder Jason Statham. And it's just, I just think they could be doing, and also, they bond with a little girl, I believe, at one point too, which is, I don't know. I'm just like, you freed yourself from the scientist prison where they're studying you. And rather than leave, you're just like, no, I'm going to wake up my friends from the trench and I'm just going to do all kinds of crazy shit. I'm going to wake up a squid. There's so much happens in that film. There's explosions underwater. There's like sabotage and espionage and like weird undersea poacher people. And like, so the people in the situation have lots of problems. So the Meg's like, I'm going to be your biggest problem. Till the day I die, if it kills me, I'm going to be your main problem. I don't care that you've been trapped in an underwater tank that's going to explode in 5 minutes. I'm still going to try and fuck you up. Like, I see you walking, running out of oxygen on the seabed. I could be eating anything in the sea right now, but I'm going to try and fuck you up. Because I'm old and I'm cranky. And I don't want to leave the trench. I like the trench. I'm comfy here. It's my front porch. But I love it. Yeah, it's the County Monte Cristo meets grumpy guy on its front porch being like, get off my land, get off my lawn. I have no idea why it's still there. If I was freed in that situation, I was that old and that big, I'd be like, I'm gone. I'm going. Maybe I'll eat you later. Maybe I'll find you another time. But like, not right now. Very petty to have a vendetta when you're the Meg. I think. I think you'd have better things to do. You're historical. You're like famous. Do something else.
I love that so much.
I bet you didn't know that the Meg 2, The Trench, was a Count of Monte Cristo, just the underwater version.
But I cannot believe that you've just very accurately compared the Meg 2 to the Count of Monte Cristo. I am obsessed with everything about this.
I bet when Alexander Dumas wrote that book, he was hoping one day, he's like, oh, my dream is one day someone makes a film about a historical like creature. He knew the Meg would resurface one day. He's like, I want this Meg to know this story so it knows it has better things to do with its life. That's what I believe.
Becky, let's jump to you and your nomination of Stephanie in Evil Dead Rise. Stephanie.
Oh.
Stephanie.
So
Who is Stephanie? I don't even remember Stephanie.
Stephanie is the little girl in Evil Dead Rise.
Yeah.
She creates this thing and she's got like a big pole, and on the end of the pole she's stuck like one of her doll's heads, and she calls it Stephanie. And it is used
God.
And it is used at one point as a weapon through the, like through, you know, one of those classic kills, one of those classic gore-filled kills, through the mouth, out the back of the neck. And I wanted to nominate Stephanie as Best Supporting Actress, but we already had so many... And I think we already had someone, we had, Alyssa Sutherland in Best Supporting Actress for Evil Dead Rise, and so I couldn't really add Stephanie in. And so when I realised that we were doing Pettiest Villain, I'm like, Stephanie isn't technically a villain. She's like on the side of good, but she does like create and like take out some real like violent kind of retribution. And so while not necessarily a villain, she is somebody who has been petty in her like absolute like fucking thrust through the back of somebody's neck. And so I just wanted to fly the flag for Stephanie because I think that she did work beyond what we can all agree is what would usually be
a thankless role.
Yeah, a thankless role as like a big stick with a doll's head on the end. And actually what she does is she's like, no, do you know what? Fuck you, demon. I'm going through the back of your neck. I can't... The thing is I can't 100% remember whether she's used against a good guy or a bad guy. If she's used against a good guy, then she's technically a villain. If she's used against a bad guy, then she's technically a hero. But I wanted to get her in here somewhere, so I've nominated her for Pettiest Villain.
I love the idea that when Stephanie got the part, she was like, typecast again.
Yeah.
Another bit part.
Yeah. It's like, all I want is to be in the Barbie movie, but here I am in Evil Dead Rise.
Amazing.
Oh, I love it. I'm going to go with a legend of stage, screen, traumas. Miss Patti LuPone.
If you hadn't brought up Patti LuPone, I was gonna like disown you. I was like, when we got to the Best Supporting Actress and we did Parker Posey for I Was Afraid, I was like, where is Anna? Where is Anna right now? Where is her voice in this discussion? So thank you for this, because it's really just calmed me down.
I think this is what I want to use my voice for. This is what I'm gonna use my privilege for, is to vote for Miss Patti LuPone, who I hope to God I'm never in the same room as her, because I would shit myself. I'm not even joking. I would crumble psychologically so fast, like a goddamn paper. I'd fold. I'd be like, take everything. I don't care. I'm a piece of shit. I don't know. Just don't look at me directly. Please don't look at me. The way everything in Beau is Afraid builds up to Mona Wasserman, who's the mom of Beau. And everything about her, you only hear her voice through his phone. And Beau is kind of a mess in many ways. And all he's trying to do is to get to his mom's house. That's where he's going. And when she finally appears on screen, so she dies halfway through. And he's like, oh my God, not only have I fucked up, but also I have to get there for the funeral, at least, you know? And then when he gets there, not only is she not dead, but she fakes being a corpse or asks someone to make a realistic corpse of her just so she can belittle him. And when she walks in the room where he is butt-ass naked with Parker Posey recently deceased mid-coitus, And the way she doesn't even need to say anything. The way she looks at him made my insides curdle like milk. I was like, oh no, I need to go back to therapy because this is triggering something very intense. And I don't want to look at her directly. She's just on the screen and I'm scared.
Yeah. No wonder Joaquin's so fearful.
No
the
wonder.
Whole film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 very petty nominees. Who are we awarding the John Kramer Award for Pettiest Villain of 2023?
I'm sorry, guys. If it's not the Meg, then it's a fucking travesty. There are like fucking historical, like Shakespearean levels of things happening in that film. So that's all I'm gonna say.
I mean, I was leaning towards Mona, but Isaura's like argument was so persuasive.
That's genius. It's a stone cold genius
I think it's got to be. It's got to be the Meg and the Meg too.
It has to be the Meg and the Meg too.
Yes. Well done,
Right.
Meg. Well done, the Meg. The Meg and the Bear finally cleaning up. It's their year. It's their year.
It's a win. It's a win for petty animals.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 categories to go.
Okay.
Tensions are high. These are the biggest awards of the night. We've been at this for 2 hours. There's very precious little sanity left.
It's still about a 1/6 of what the actual Oscars runs.
I know.
Yep.
We haven't even had musical performances in between.
Oh, next year.
Oh my god!
We'll have
Please,
someone
can one
next
of
year.
you come on? Can we have a musical number? Somebody, please.
The Meg, guest of
serenade
honor.
us.
The Meg does a bit.
Okay. I'm gonna read through these
Okay.
and then let's talk about them.
Okay.
Michael and Danny Filippo for Talk to Me. Mark
Yeah.
Jenkin for Ennis Main. Brandon Cronenberg for Infinity Pool. Ty West for Pearl. Damien Rugna for When Evil Lurks. Vishal Dutta for It Lives Inside. Paris Tartilla for Raging Grace. And Michelle Garza for Huesera. Becky, why don't we start with your favorites? I think we'll have multiple favorites in here.
We do, yeah. Okay, so I will rattle through because I know we're short of time. Mark Jenkin for Ennis Main, like it's just for me. This is like it's a director's film, and actually, I did have the lead actress. I've deleted it from our document now, so I can't remember her name. But as like the researcher, I had them in the lead actress category because, you know, it's very much a director's and kind of lead actresses film. It's so kind of intense and focused on like that one character. And like, I think Mark Jenkin is such a powerhouse in terms of the sort of cinema that he creates. He's so singular in terms of like the sort of like really like slight sort of folk tales that he tells with his films. And I don't think that any director could have made a film like Ennis Main like Mark Jenkin did. So that's why he's got my vote. I'm also going to go for Brandon Cronenberg for Infinity Pool. Again, I just think that the whole presentation of that film was so perfect. It's funny and gross and scary in all of the ways that both of the Cronenbergs do, but I just really love the way that Brandon Cronenberg has kind of picked up this mantle from his dad, but then done something individual and different with it. And Infinity Pool just really kind of hit me in so many ways that it the direction of it, the way that it looks, the way that the performances come across, just really kind of, I think, as I said earlier when we were talking about screenplays and stuff, just builds this world that is so amazing. So big up Brandon Cronenberg. Please keep doing what you're doing. And my last one would be Demian Rungna for When Evil Lurks. Again, talked about his incredible work already with Terrifier and Terrified, not Terrifier, not the clown, the other one, Terrified. No Art the Clown, back in your box. His incredible work with Terrified, and I just think that he is such a like fresh and refreshing voice in horror cinema and keeps creating these images and these pieces and these narratives that are really kind of pushing the edges of what horror can be. He kind of takes what is existing and like he's like, all right, I kind of know what's already there in this genre or subgenre, but I'm gonna like reinvigorate that and really remind you what it feels like to be scared by that. And if I'm looking for, like, even from a personal point of view, if I'm looking for horror films that kind of really like elevate, not elevated horror, but that like elevate themselves to the upper echelons of the stuff that I really enjoy, I want it to fuck me up. I want it to scare me. And Demian Rungna like keeps doing that. Like he really unsettles me and takes a lot of the comfort out of horror. I watch a lot of horror for comfort, and I don't get that from his films. I get what I'm often actually chasing, which is that real feeling of like fear and being unsettled. And I thought that When Evil Lurks did that again this year, and so it's got to be up there for me. I think he's a real talent.
Love it. Isaura, what about your favorites? Who are you going to back for Best Director?
So I'm going to start with Michelle. Is it Gartha? Do you say? Is it how do you say
Gartha?
That
Yeah,
Gartha. For the same reason that Becky was just saying. Sarah okay, I'm butchering everything. I'm the John Travolta of this year's Oscars. Adele Dazeem.
Jamie Vidal.
Jamie Vidal. This film like shit me up. It scared me so much.
Yes.
And that's something that I think from the very first bit where you're meant to be scared, I was like, I didn't expect it. And it was like deep set, like in the middle of my chest. I was like, oh my God. And I really wasn't, because like Becky was saying, like we're so used to, when people like us who've watched a lot of horror films, it still feels quite rare to have that where you're like, oh no, I've been fully unsettled. Like I'm not just settling down for like a fun, yes, I'm going to be maybe a little bit like scared in like a fun titillated kind of way, in a way that's like, I might have made a mistake like in watching this on my own at night. That's how that film felt to me. And I think it's so clear. It does so much cool stuff with light, with like like even the first scare is like when she sees something creepy in the distance, and it's so clever, like because you're immediately questioning what you've seen and what you haven't seen, if it's real, if it isn't real. And I think it just really got under my skin in a way that films don't often. And I think it's just really smartly observed. I think there's quiet when there needs to be quiet. I think there's nothing when there needs to be nothing. I think you see things when you need to see things. And I just really loved it. It really scared me to the point where I want to watch it again, but I'm like, I'm not going to watch it again on my own. Which makes, I know it's good. Because usually I'll just throw on a horror film and be like, oh, cool. Let me just eat my, I don't know, chips. I don't know what I'm talking about. But like, I'm just always eating chips and watching horror films. But I just be like, I'll just settle in and throw one on. And that one I watched it on my own for the first time I ever saw it was at night on my own, and I was terrified. And I was just like, who made this? What monster made this? And it was Michelle Gartha. And then I was like, I want to see it again, but I need to see it with people. I need to see it with at least one other person. Yeah. And maybe at dusk, not full nighttime. And I just think that's a real achievement in horror, especially nowadays.
I saw it in the morning and it fucked me up in a very similar way to you.
I was like it was that first scare. Like, I was like, oh no.
Yep.
And I was too proud to stop watching it. So I was just like, oh, here we go. But like, it really, like, it literally felt it like in the middle of my chest. And I was like a chill ran through me. And I was like, I don't know how she's done this, but that's got me immediately. And then my second one, which will lead into yours, Anna, is Talk to Me, which we've talked a lot about. Great performances, great new idea, but the one of the most successful scenes for me, which I've mentioned already, is the montage to that amazing song Le Monde, which is just a perfect movie. So it's so good, and it's such a good montage. It's exactly how montages should be. It tells you enough information. It's fun, and because it's a horror film, it's still unsettling. It still gives you an impression that maybe this is going too far. It's like watching people get higher and higher. Because of its opening, like we've talked about, with the like a mini horror film before the actual film starts, and because I love how it's cyclical, how we come full circle by the end of it. I think it's a debut feature, right? And I think it's such an achievement. I think it's in the same way I feel about Barbarian as a debut feature, I feel about this. I'm like, if this is what you're doing, your first go around, like as a big, I'm like, this is, who knows what you're gonna do? Like, this is so good, so accomplished. It's full of characters that you're not expecting. It's such clever casting. They don't rely on any kind of trope or stereotype. I really loved it.
I love that. And I would also bat for Michelle Garza for Waseda, because that was one of my favorite films of last year. I think I saw it in 2022, but it only came out in 2023. I'm going to add two films that we haven't actually talked about in this whole conversation. And both were debut features, both really updated, very traditional horror narratives. There's Bichel Duta for It Lives Inside, which is a story of a possession set in a high school as well, and really plays around with who gets possessed, how they get possessed, and how they deal with it. Really hits the spot for kind of like that sort of teen supernatural era, and a few sequences in particular that I thought was just very, very violent, very effective, but had kind of a lot of heart to it. Not really kind of the sort of horror that really fucks you up and messes with your brain, but rather kind of really character-led, updating and making very contemporary a traditional story instead of going through the motions of what a possession horror should or might look like. And the other one is Raging Grace, which is a film that I loved and have programmed, and kind of does the same thing, but with a haunted house movie, where it's all about this mansion, this old, creaky, very English kind of house that the lead Joy, who's an undocumented domestic worker in the UK, and she's kind of hiding her daughter Grace and carrying her around with her as she goes from kind of job to job being a domestic worker in these houses that are full of horrible people, and she gets this kind of suspiciously good deal of a gig in this old house, and obviously nothing is good and things go awry, and it's all fucked up. But I love haunted house movies, and partly for the interiors, partly for the scares, and I love the feeling of eeriness and the atmosphere. And on a side note, similarly to how most Oscar campaigns are run, because I know both Bichel and Paris, I'm like, I'm just going to vote for my friends. I'm going to do that. I'm going to vote for the people I know I like in real life. So there you go.
At least, unlike the Oscar voters, you actually have something to say about them, which is not often the case. So, like, I didn't see it, but I know them, so I guess them.
Yeah. So, who do we think is the best director 2023? Oh, by the way, I do love that there's only one woman, because much like at the Oscars, only one woman director allowed per year.
Well, maybe she has to win.
Classic. Oh, God.
I'd vote for her, both for guilt reasons and also because I fucking love Waseda. I absolutely love that film.
Can we even still do this podcast? Are we allowed if we don't vote for the women?
Right. I have to cancel the whole podcast.
Yeah, that's it. It's over. Too bad. So the trouble is, obviously, I would very much love to throw my love towards Michelle Garza, but I didn't love Huesera, and so I'm like, I know, but, and again, but the main reason, to be honest, is because like pregnancy horror really fucking freaks me out, and like not in the good way horror freaks me out, in the kind of like I'm finding it's really difficult to watch and enjoy freaks me out. But I do lean towards the fact that it's a very good movie. So if you two wanted to vote for Michelle Garza, then I would be on board with that. If we weren't going to do her, then I would throw my vote towards the Philippines.
Ooh.
I mean, how much does guilt weigh?
It's weighing very heavily on me right now. I'm going my girl. I'm
gonna go with the girl too.
Okay, let's do
fine.
it.
There we go.
Old Michael and Danny will win 1 million awards.
Talk to Me Too is happening.
Exactly.
They'll be fine.
That's true.
So,
they've got another chance. It's fine. We're fine.
Yeah.
And here we are. It's been 17 hours. There's been several performances. There's been snubs. There's been controversies. People have been getting drunk. Cocaine is flowing. Cocaine Bear has relapsed.
Cocaine Bear.
Not a laughing matter.
Took a shit on the stage.
Cocaine Bear has been ejected for getting violent and slapping someone on stage.
Yeah. A lot's happened.
Mia Goth keeps heckling people in her little girl voice.
James! Anyone called James is not safe.
Jamie Vidal keeps floating around and flapping with his cape.
Jamie Vidal.
And here we are. We have arrived.
Yeah, we have
the
arrived.
highest honor of the Horror Oscars 2023 or 2024. The best picture. The best horror picture of the year. The nominees are, by the way, just so you can visualize, I'm cat sitting right now and the cat has jumped on my lap, so I am caressing her like a James Bond villain.
Oh, yes.
The nominees for the best horror picture are Talk to Me, Evil Dead Rise, Piggy, Pearl, Infinity Pool, When Evil Lurks, Stop Motion, Sick of Myself, El Conde, and Raging Grace.
That's one hell of a fucking list, guys.
Oof.
10 bangers, but only one could win.
Oh goodness, oh my.
Are we just gonna vote? Like,
do you know what? Do you know what? Fucking chaos reigns. I don't know anymore. No rules apply.
Oh Jesus.
Go for it.
Oh no. I don't know. You know, there are so many things, right? Like, let's pick some of the, like, Talk to Me, we just talked about. Let's pick one thing from it. The opener, amazing.
Yes.
Solid. Like, yes. Highlight. Evil Dead Rise, opening credits.
Opener, yeah.
Yes. Stephanie, iconic.
Old Stephanie's in there. Piggy.
Thank you.
Very grounded, amazing performance. Pearl. Even though Mia Goth has an annoying voice in it, she kills people with an axe, and there's a hot projectionist. What do we do?
And she's not a scarecrow.
End credits? Oh,
yeah, the end credits.
Yeah, where she's just like grinning into the camera.
For like 2 minutes.
For ages. And she has that amazing screaming monologue where she's like,
yeah. So
and
good.
I also do enjoy that when she finally gets to perform, she's actually not that great. I love that. But like Infinity Pool, I love it. Make a Skarsgård pathetic. Oh my god.
That I think
Thank
that
you.
might be.
Over.
I think that might
Plus
be one
prosthetic
of my kinks.
wanking.
Yeah. Give me like a pathetic, weeping, like desperate for a woman Skarsgård. Love it. On board.
Give it to me. Absolutely.
I haven't seen When Evil Lurks, but you guys have. It's on my list now to see like
It's
immediately.
unbelievable.
It's very good.
Stop motion is good, and we love some stop motion. You know, reminds us
We
of
love
our
some stop motion.
of our childhood days. They're like, oh, you know that thing from your childhood? It's scary now. Good times. Who doesn't like that? I think we could
Ray
all see
Harryhausen
ourselves.
spinning in his grave.
Aardman are like, maybe that's what we should be doing. It's like, yeah, maybe the next Chicken Run should be a little bit more edgy. Just saying.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Sick of myself. Who doesn't see themselves in that girl?
Who cannot
couldn't see themselves?
empathize?
Most
Or at
relatable.
least
Most
look at this
relatable film.
person. At least look at this person as an incredible opportunity for office gossip.
Exactly. Who wouldn't take poisonous pills to win an argument? I would.
I would.
I would.
There's a cape. There's a cape and there's Margaret Thatcher.
So much cape. Thatcher.
There's the best flying that's ever happened in a film ever. And there's Margaret
and one
Thatcher.
of the greatest twists that's ever happened. One of the best reveals.
Exactly. It's fantastic. And then there's Raging Grace, which I also haven't seen, but also I'm
I
being
haven't
sold
seen
on.
it, so Anna,
very
that's all
good.
you.
There is stuff to love, you know. Who can say?
Guys, what do you think would happen at the Oscars? Do you think
It will be
there
like-
should be an upset?
The Green Book of the list would win, which I don't know what that is.
I think Piggy would win.
I think El Conde
you?
would win.
I
Do
think El Conde
you?
would, 'cause it's black and white, yeah. And Margaret Thatcher's
Oh,
there.
it's true. And it's got Thatcher in it.
And also,
Yeah.
it's a director who's made like a lot of very Oscar-nominated, very glossy,
True. Yeah.
beautiful
True.
films.
Stop motion has
Do you know
too
what?
much
I
woman.
wouldn't
Too many women in
be
it.
devastated if El Conde won.
You'd be devastated.
Yeah.
Which means that
No,
it
I
should win.
wouldn't. I
You
wouldn't be devastated.
I
I'd
wouldn't be devastated
surprised.
if anything won, but like it feels like so. Like Talk to Me, leading woman. Evil Dead Rise, lots of women. Piggy, leading woman. Pearl, leading woman. Infinity Pool, they'd be like, I can't believe my guy Skarsgård is crying on his knees like that.
Well,
Even
Infinity
though-
Pool has too much penis in it. Nothing with
Too
full
much
frontal
penis.
is going to win.
That is true.
And Mia Goth is too much in charge. Yeah, you see a real close.
I think stop motion is too obviously horror.
Yeah.
I don't think it's got enough kind of like Oscar weight to it that they would consider it.
Sick of Myself is too Nordic. The Nordics
They
never
would be
win.
like, we can't give an award to an unwell Nordic woman.
Yeah.
They're like, no,
No.
we can't do it. We can't be a leading woman who's also like mentally unstable. Ridiculous. El Con is black and white. It's a grumpy old man.
It's technically a
He
biopic.
flies. He's
Yes,
also like
it's a
superhero.
biopic. That's true.
Yeah. He's kind of superhero. So like all the old men in the voting like who are voting will be like, I could fly.
I wish I had a big
I
flappy
could
cake.
also
It's a film for me.
I could turn a young nun. She'd give up her nunning to sleep with me. That's what the men would be thinking.
Do you think all the aging white Oscar voters would be like, finally a film for me? About an aging dictator who
I
lives
also
forever.
have Marie Antoinette's head in my shed. So weird. I also have that, or if they don't have it, they're like, I would like Marie Antoinette's head in my shed. Actually, that's one of the things on my bucket list of items to collect. I think they'd identify with it.
I think that's the winner.
I think it's El Conde.
shit.
I think it's El
It's El
Conde.
Conde. Yeah.
And you know what? And you know what is coming up? As people confusingly applaud because they know they have to, but they don't understand why. You know who comes up to collect the award? It's the cape.
Jamie Vidal.
Like something off of
Aladdin.
what's that fucking who's that Marvel
it's
guy?
Doctor Strange.
Stephen
Oh, yeah,
Strange.
Doctor-
Stephen
Yeah.
Strange's cape comes up.
Comes up and is like, thank
and
you
the
guys.
twist is, it wasn't fiction. Pinochet. was actually a consultant on the film.
On the film.
And unfortunately,
and you know what? You know, it'll be one of those sweet moments where the rest of the cast push the cape forward, like, no, this is your moment.
Yes, this is your moment.
We all know, really, this is because of you. It's the Cape and Margaret Thatcher, who are actually a couple in real life, holding hands, going up, and it's actually the real Margaret Thatcher. She's like, yeah, I'm not dead, guys.
I'm a vampire.
Hi.
I was a vampire all along.
I came out for this. You know, I've always wanted to be an actor. I was just waiting for the right time, the right project. And that's what, and this, everyone's crying. It'll be amazing. It'll be amazing. What a beautiful moment.
What a great parade of horror talent.
Wow.
From the Meg to the Cape.
I love that we're like...
It's like a Sade song.
Unsung heroes. Not the people. You're mistaken. It's the things.
This has fulfilled every single need I had in my life at this moment in time. I cannot thank you enough, Isaura, Becky. What are your closing remarks? The credits are rolling. The music is coming up. What do you want to say to the people at the horror Oscars?
I just want to thank my mum and God and my agent, obviously, and my husband, my kids who don't exist, my agent, again, if I didn't mention him. I just really want to thank my agent and also God.
Yeah. I would say, I just think, you know, as someone who is underrepresented in the arts, I would say that I'm just so glad that this year represented the Stephanies out there, the bears of all colour out there, the Megs, the ancient animals that everyone forgets about, the capes that do a lot of the heavy lifting in our industry.
They never get recognised.
I just want to say, especially Margaret Thatcher, I'm so glad we dug you up for this. I want to say to anyone who knows Anna, be very careful. She identifies with Pearl. Don't cross her. I want to say to anyone else who knows me, if I got very ill very quickly, shut your mouth. I'm very sick. You can't prove I'm lying. Yeah. And what a great year. What a great year for everybody.
It's been a great year for bears everywhere.
For bears everywhere.
Thank you so much, Isaura. Thank you so much, Becky. Thank you, the Academy of the Horror Oscars. And for everyone who's listened this far, I don't know what's wrong with you, but I appreciate you so much. Until next year.